or was on another task until late Friday afternoon. And when I got her the information, I just told her give it to us Monday, and I'd get it out to the board Monday morning, which we did.
Good deal.
I'll move approval of the ordinance on the second reading.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, I'll ask for your vote. And that passes unanimously. Mrs. Harris.
Moving on to new business, approval of the 2025 proposed budget. That's going to involve first a resolution approving the budget, and then two specific factors. One is an ordinance fixing the mill levy for assessment evaluations for the year ending on December 31st of 2024, referring to the fiscal year 2025. And then also the first reading of the annual appropriation ordinance, appropriating sums of monies to defray expenses and liabilities of the city of La Junta, Colorado for the city's fiscal year beginning January 1, 2025 and ending on December 31st, 2025.
After we do this, then I want you to do the mill levy thing.
Oh, if you'd like, okay. Okay, so first, though, we would begin, I think, with the resolution approving the 2025 proposed budget for that.
Do I have a motion?
A motion to approve the 2025 proposed budget.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just any changes from our last talks and meeting?
So this budget that's proposed was the balanced budget after we got the information back from the property tax, where I had to lower another $23,000. So I balanced it off of that. I think we were $200 in the good after all of the meetings of the supervisors. So that was the budget that is presented today.
So is it basically this budget?
Basically that one with some minor changes here and there to some different departments.
Can you give us an overview of what those changes are?
They were minor. Like the police department was, they pitched in $750. The fire department pitched in, cutting another $1,000. The library cut $250. We have a general fund of the city that is like $22,000 or something like that. I took $10,000 out of that after discussing with Eliza. I know the Parks and Recreation gave up a little bit of money. Each department offered up a little bit of money here and there, which balanced out to the $23,000. I think it came out to just a little over $23,000. So I think we had $200 in the good. Okay. So it was very minor changes from the original Orange Book. Basically, you take $23,000 off of that one, and that's what it was. It's the same book. So,
got it.
But each department did pitch in.
Okay.
Any other discussion? If not, I'll ask for your vote. And that passes unanimously.
Okay, then next we would move to the first reading of the ordinance fixing the mill levy. You'll see that each of you have been provided a sheet that has some purple writing on it. This was prepared by Eliza for us because I asked her if she could just provide a brief explanation, because anytime that we end up with words in, even though people get used to thinking that you can't understand legalese, you really should be able to understand what it is that you're approving. So I wanted to be sure that we understand what a mill levy is. Those words don't make very much sense by themselves, but Eliza has given you this nice little summary that explains that a mill is $1 per $1,000 of assessed value. It's actually from the Latin, I think, if I'm not mistaken, but she didn't put that on here, it looks like. Anyway, so a mill levy is the fraction that's used multiplied by the property assessed value to figure out what the tax will be. And as you'll see here by seeing that it is the mill levy versus Tabor, what Eliza was pointing out, because I had contacted her saying, if there are questions about where this magic fraction number comes from, what will I answer? And she was saying, well, it's been locked in since 1992 when Tabor was passed. So we really don't have to go back further than that. We just have to know that at this point, the fraction that was used and multiplied is what has been locked in ever since. So when we adjust the mill levy, we're working with that number that is set. And Brad had an example that he could maybe share as well about.
Right. So with the mill levy, the mills are set. Those are a base value. Now, it's off the property tax value that comes in from the state of Colorado off of property assessment, which is located within, for this case, the city limits of La Junta. So that's how that number's figured. Each year, the mill levy or the property tax assessment kind of goes up and down. Over the last 2 years, the state of Colorado has decided to kind of mess with the property taxes and try to get those lowered so the assessment value on people's property gets lowered, but it also affects revenue for municipalities as well as special districts on the fire side as well, because that's where we get a lot of revenue on the rural district side. So that's why it's not a set number, it's not a set amount every year that comes in. It's based off of that. The county assessor gives us a rough idea about the first part of October-ish, middle of September of what it should be. Final numbers will come in first part of November to finalize mill levies. So we may get a little more money back. We don't think we'll go any lower, but once final numbers come in. So that's how that's kind of based. The mill levy is set. That cannot increase without the approval of the voters at the set of an election.
Are there questions though about that?
Hugely complicated. Appreciate the.
So we'll need a motion on the
I'll
first.
make a motion to approve the first reading of the ordinance fixing the mill levy for assessment evaluations for the year ending on December 31st, 2024, fiscal year 2025. That is incorrect. It should say the year ending 2025, I believe.
No, I think
So it
it's
ends.
It's the one that ends this year.
evaluation
It's
is
in this
this.
year, and this is what we're set.
Okay, then it should say fiscal year 2024.
No,
No?
it's
Okay.
So
prospective
this
to
will
the.
end here, and then this will.
It's prospective to the next fiscal year.
Yeah.
Okay, then what I said first time.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, I'll ask for your vote. And that passes unanimously.
Then finally, we move to the first reading of, and we've read this aloud already once, this is the annual appropriation ordinance. I don't really have much to share on this. If there are questions, though, we can certainly talk about it.
Well, let's see if we have a motion first.
I make a motion to approve the annual appropriation ordinance.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, I'll ask for your vote. And that passes unanimously. This is me, board appointments. This is the aforementioned Board of Appeals. We have Bob Fowler, he's in the audience tonight. Raymond Martinson, Bob May, Trevor Harrison, and Ed Harris, who will be the first on our Board of Appeals. Do we want to do it one by one, or do we want to do them as a whole?
I think it would depend on what motion we get. If we get a motion that they'll do them all at once, we would. Otherwise, we would do it one by one. So what does the group prefer?
I make a motion to approve all 5 board appointments.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question about the process as far as putting out the word that we were looking for people for the Board of Appeals. Was there any public process for nominations or volunteers, or was it the engineering department that kind of narrowed it down, or what? Just tell me more about the process.
Yes.
Well, I can tell you what we got going on is there's a possibility of an appeal coming up here pretty soon on a decision that was made on a setback on some property. So we were kind of under the gun to get one set up. I did give the building department and city engineer the authority to go out and create this board and get some names. They spoke to a few people, and this is how we came up with the name system. And this is not by this board. If it gets used once every 5 years, that's a lot, to be honest. So we felt with these guys here, we want to make sure there was no that they had background in zoning, background in some construction or the process, and that's why these names were brought up.
Okay. Did all 5 agree to serving on the board?
Yes, they did. We made Amy Hill made personal contact with each person and asked before we just put their names in.
Okay. And then how long is the term?
There's no term set for the Board of Appeals. They will be just as needed and can be changed at any time. And that's per our city ordinance. So we don't have any. It's kind of a special board, if you want to put it that way. So yeah.
So we wouldn't, on a recurring basis, reapprove them. We would just.
We can just keep them until needed to change somebody. And I think what we'll do, I'll set it up with Amy and Martin on this to probably just review it yearly and see if the gentlemen still want to serve. And if not, then we can reopen that position if they don't want to serve. And I think if we did it yearly, that'd be fine.
They'd still get approved by council.
Yes, yeah, any changes would be approved by council.
So my only question pertaining to the appointees would be the one gentleman is a business owner. I know you said it wouldn't be used very often. They don't really have any voting power. They're a recommending board. Is that
Yes, that's what it is. Is the information would be provided to them. They would make the recommendation back to the city engineer of yes or no, and also involve Ms. Harris as that as well.
So basically, it's if anyone's filing an appeal for a decision that a city employee has already made.
Not a city employee. It's the ruling on the setbacks from the property lines on any type of construction project on their property. So if they don't agree with what the setback should be, then they can appeal to this board where they can make their case, and then they would make a recommendation back of yes, maybe look into it, or no, what the city engineer says goes.
Okay.
And that's after the planning commission.
Yes, because the planning commission goes there, then it goes into that. So
Which
there's
is
a
why
whole
it
step
couldn't be,
process.
why she couldn't be the planning commission doing the appeal because they
They had to
already
be
ruled
separate.
on once.
Yeah, they had to be separate from the planning commission.
And to cover just a bit more, Maureen, it wouldn't, one example is setbacks, multiple examples would exist. Anything that is in our chapter 15, which is building codes, and chapter 17, which is now zoning, anything where the decisions of the planning commission was objected to would go to this board. The new zoning code under Title 17 has a grid in it that directs if you have an objection to something that the city does, where you can appeal. And it just so happened that we didn't have an appeals board, even though that was listed there.
Got it. Okay.
Any other discussion? If not, I'll ask for your vote. And that passes unanimously. Congratulations, Bob.
Another board.
Committee and board reports.
Oh, I guess I'll go. I'll start with the utility board meeting. Actually, that'll be the only board I report on. Starting with the water department, routine maintenance at the RO plant. Distribution installed a 2-inch service line at Brick and Tile Park, along with 2 frost-proof hydrants. They've actually hired 3 employees, 1 to work at the distribution and 1 to work at the water treatment plant. So, and the lead line replacement project of 10 years, Tom's gonna have to develop a plan and get some communication on that, because it is a 10-year project. We just don't know how we're going to pay for it. You can imagine any plan or any process that takes 10 years to do is going to be costly. We just want to find out who's going to be assisting the city of La Junta with that. Now, Tom applies for several grants, and some of the down news was a lot of these grants may be reallocated, or some of the grants that he's already applied for may be reallocated because of the hurricanes that affected the East Coast, Florida, and Maine, Florida, and North Carolina. So even though we're separated by geography, it's going to be an impact to Lahana and other communities around the nation. Moving on to the electric department, the crew they've been out there trimming trees around the power lines, and they had a citywide outage on the 26th of last month, and they did a fantastic job. The power was out for about an hour and 45 minutes in the city of Lahana, but they went out there and they located the problem because the citizen was able to identify where they heard the noise or saw a flash. So if you do see that or hear that, and you can relatively let somebody know where that's at, call the outage line, which is 384-2611. Don't call 911 to report a fire outage. All that does is tie up those phone lines, and we do have a dedicated outage line. But they were able to replace an arrestor, which was 17 years old. It was made of a polymer that they just get hard, and they're subject to the weather. They cost $1,700 to replace. One of the, I guess if there's anything good about this outage, is the number of positive comments that our crew received as a result of this. They worked hard, they identified it, and they fixed it. So great job to those guys. Moving on, and I'm saving the other news towards the end that I know Joe's waiting for me to get to. The tree dump is open. There's no fee to the city of Lahana residents. There's no construction materials that are being allowed there. It's set aside just for trees and things of that nature. Going to Lahana City Cleanup, where you can take your trash as a city resident to the 6th and Gardner, or is it 5th and Gardner? 5th and Gardner. They'll accept tires, but you can't take more than 9 tires. It's a weird law in Colorado that if you haul more than 9 tires, you have to be registered as a tire hauler. Okay, hopefully that doesn't apply. Again, no construction materials, no commercial entities may participate in this. Last year, they took out 14 roll-offs during the month of October. This year, they've taken 1. So we're reducing the amount of trash in the city of Lahana with this project, which is fantastic. So keeping Lahana beautiful is that. And last but not least, effective January 1st, 2025, there will be a 2% increase on water and wastewater. There were no rate increases approved by the Utility Board for Sanitation and Electric. So just a 2% for water and wastewater was approved by the Utility Board.
Thank you, Paul. And I just want to add to the cleanup. This October cleanup is taking the place of what we used to know as alley cleanup. And there are still those that are elderly and that cannot, get their yards cleaned up. In that case, a special request can be made to the engineering department, and they will go out and make a pickup if that is your situation. So just so you guys know that, it's not for everybody, but if there is special circumstances to where you guys can't get that hauled off, if you call the engineering department, they'll make a special trip out for you, and that's for the month of October. Any other committee and board reports? No. All right, Mr. City Manager.
Well, thank you. I'm going to piggyback on the tree dump stuff. First, let me apologize. I forgot to print the last report that Mr. Jackson got us for the tree dump, but I'm going to read you a couple numbers. This is through September. So the month of July, there was a total of 70 loads that went to the tree dump. August was a total of 53. September, 261. So huge increase on the residential side of people taking stuff out their residential load. So those are like Paul said, there's no charge for the city of Lahana residents. So that just shows it's that time of year where people are trimming up trees and cleaning up their property, and we really appreciate that. So through September, yes, in the month of September, 261. We had small truck loads of 118, 1 large truck, and 4 commercial. So the numbers are going back up. Everybody on the last report I gave, you could see it kind of going down. There's not much tree trimming and stuff going on in the summertime, but I see this one and probably this next month of October really being up high again too. So if you'd like me to, I will email that out to you. I totally spaced that one out today, so that was good there. The airport, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Montoya were out there. They did get it finalized and commissioned on the new nav aid system that they were getting replaced and everything like that. So it is commissioned through the FAA, so that we're in great shape there. Over in the Parks Department, over the weekend, we were notified, and they started working on it today, but the skate park got nailed big time with graffiti. It's kind of, Brock is working with the police department of trying to get them some video to see if they can identify the people. But they nailed it pretty hard this time. Kind of especially down in an area where you can't see from the streets when they're down there doing it. Brock's guys took the new little machine over there today with the power washer and everything. They started working on it. The decision was made after they kind of worked on it and couldn't get some of it off. They're going to start painting it with concrete paint. They've done this in the past, and it's been a huge improvement of getting the graffiti off. We also think that'll also improve the time spent on this project. So instead of them grinding away on the concrete and doing things like that, get it painted, it'll absorb in there, and hopefully we can catch who did this. But that was one of the projects that was taken care of over the weekend. We also had a couple girls, 3 girls to be exact, on Friday afternoon last week, get locked in the bathrooms at the park. They went in to use the bathroom, and the door handle malfunctioned inside. We thought it was an electrical issue with the lock. It was not that. The police had to call the fire guys to the rescue. So my guys went up, no capes, no hats. We broke into the door with no damage. Got a hold of Lock Monkey, and they come and took care of the lock. So they weren't in there very long at all.
So the fire department had to call the Lock Monkey?
Oh no, that was already called. We got in. They called them to repair the door. I'll get you answers. Don't worry about that. So,
The police department made sure the scene was safe.
that's what. Well, they said on the radio their heroes were there, so that's what matters. The electric department. I'm going to piggyback on this as well. This week too, they are getting their annual inspections done on all of their aerial trucks, their hot sticks, grounds, and cover-up blankets. So all of their pieces of machinery are going through a thorough inspection to make sure everything's up to spec there. Street department, we are happy to announce that the brick and tile bridge is in and completed. There's still a little bit of work going on over there with the city crews. They're finishing up working on some concrete work on the 10th Street side, and then they'll work on the parking lot again that kind of got washed out and things like that. But the bridge is done. It is open. TLM did a very good job, and they kept it right on planned time of being done. It also worked out good with the crane company, because if it wouldn't have been on time, we would have had to wait another month to a month and a half for the crane company to come back down. So we were looking probably closer towards the end of November. So they stayed on track, got it done. My hat's off to TLM and the city crews that took care of that. Also, Martin is working with CDOT. He met with them last week for the bridge over the Arroyo on West 3rd Street, right there by Ellis Teca. We were all informed a while back about the report and the inspection. He met with CDOT. They came down and looked. There is a grant possibility, very strong possibility, so we could get some money to pay for the design of getting it repaired. And we're looking at probably $220,000 to $230,000 that we don't have in the budget, but the CDOT was very, very positive that if we put in now, I think it has to be in by the 1st of November, that we could get that money secured so we can get it designed, and then we can go after another grant process to get it repaired and replaced. Overall budget, we're looking at probably $2.5 to $2.7 million to replace that bridge. But with that being an old highway through town, CDOT's able to help us and work with us. So keep our fingers crossed. We'll keep that process going. So that's good there. Again, you kind of nailed the October cleanup. You got 2 weeks, well, just a little under 2 weeks remaining over there off of Gardner. The only thing that I have coming up on my focus on things is tomorrow morning I'll be leaving for Keystone to go play fire chief for a little bit for a week up there. I need to get some training and education. I will also be teaching a couple classes while I'm up there as well. So I'll be back Friday afternoon. So Brock Kinkhouse will be acting city manager, and Aaron Childers will be acting fire chief while I'm gone. But I am still available by phone. I'm not going off the grid. but I'll be available if anybody needs to get a hold of me. So, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have. I'm just happy to report that everybody's happy, going good. I'm very happy with the board, the council as well, for passing the first reading on the budget. I feel very comfortable with this budget where we're at, and good things are going to turn out. So, thanks.
Any questions for Brad?
Would you elaborate on the life-saving award some of your crew received?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to have them here. They're pretty humble. They don't like to be recognized a lot like that. But we were recognized, including myself, for an incident that happened out at Coffee Holding. Gentleman went into cardiac arrest, and our crew responded. Now, I do want to give my hat off to the employees at Coffee Holding that started CPR before we got there. That assisted in this. We're very firm believers in. But our crew did get in there. We did resuscitate him 3 times. 3 times we had to initiate shocks, reassess him, get him back into order. He is now doing better. He's had some treatments done, some things to his health, and that gentleman is back to doing good. So my hat's off to my crew. I was there. I think I was in the way probably more than anything else, but thank you to RETAC for nominating and recognizing the staff from Atlanta Fire for doing that. But again, it was really the first process of the bystanders starting CPR too. So.
Awesome, thank you. Any other questions for Brad? Governing body comments?
I have a couple.
Mike?
All right. I was remiss last time. I forgot to. It happened before the last meeting, but the Citizens Police Academy wrapped up September 21st, and there were a good dozen of us. I think between 12 and 14 of us that showed up for the process. And if anybody hasn't done it, I just want to give a huge plug. It was a really fantastic experience. I know Councilwoman Pantoja also participated, and I think would agree with me that it's a good use of your citizen hours and time, and just can't say enough of how much I appreciate Chief Quick and his whole team in putting it together. So if you haven't already done it, I would suggest you do it, and they'll be starting to recruit again, and as soon as they get critical mass, they'll get another group going. So the other thing, I wanted to give a shout out to the art project. They overlapped with the Tarantula Truck Fest, but I just think that's also a very good thing for our community, and we were so excited about tarantulas last time. I just want to give a shout out to the art crew as too. I think tarantulas and the art project are both events that keep on giving, and appreciate all the volunteers in the community who have done that. Let's see, Ward 3 listening tour. We've been meeting the second Monday of every month. The next one will be November 11th. I'm looking for an indoor place. It's been fun fighting mosquitoes, heat, wind, and rain out at the Brick and Tile Park, but we're going to move indoors, and I'll let everybody know where that is as soon as I have that figured out. And finally, just a question about for the new website, wondering if it's possible to get the agenda posted before the meetings on the website.
Yeah, I'm sure. Mel and I'll visit, and I'm sure we can get that taken care of. Christian Estrada, who's taken the deputy city clerk spot for Mel, has really been a huge key player in this new website. So we can get that taken care of. So when the agenda goes out to you as council members is when we can make sure that we get the agenda posted.
Okay, I would appreciate that. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Any other governing body comments? If not, I'll adjourn this. Thank you all for coming out tonight.